You're listening to Big World Network.
Subprimeval, Season 2, Episode 7, Aggressive Behavior, Part 1. Written by Robert S. C. Cutler. Read by Ryan Jones. Warning: although there is no material subject matter within that couldn't be found in any general bookstore with no age constraint, this series is rated 18 and contains adult situations and content. Renee Jensen stepped off of the stuffy city bus and into the fresh spring air. With the temperature hovering in the mid-70s, she couldn't resist a walk through Indian Mounds Park, situated above the Mississippi River. The bike and walking paths were congested with sun-starved Minnesotans after the Twin Cities had just endured one of its harshest winters in recent history. Renee casually strolled past young families and joggers on her way to one of the park's scenic overlooks, enjoying the songs and sounds of laughing children on the playground. Walking up to the wrought iron fencing, she took in the scenic view of downtown St. Paul, letting the gentle wind caress her face. Removing her hairband, she closed her eyes and ran her fingers through her long blonde hair, thinking the long wait for spring was well worth moments like this. Feeling the best she had in over 6 months, Renee stretched out her arms, took in a deep breath, and placed her hands on the top of the railing of the fence. All of her pleasant thoughts disappeared when she felt something wet and sticky squish between her fingers. Renee's first instinct was to wipe whatever it was on her hands onto her blue jeans. If today had been a week ago, that's exactly what she would have been wearing due to the cooler temperatures. But today was pleasantly warm and sunny. Today, Renee was wearing a brand new pair of khaki capris. Upon the realization of what she had just done, she closed her eyes and held her breath. Having to face her blunder, she reopened her eyes to see how badly she had ruined the new capris. Smeared across both of her thighs was congealed, dark red blood, matted with wavy black hair. With her heart in her throat, Renee turned over her hands, discovering the same gunk stuck to her palms and fingers. "Oh my God! Oh my God!" she gasped. Leaning over the railing, she squinted and clenched her teeth, afraid of what she might see on the other side. Skewered to shrubbery, remnants of scalp and hair dangled just a few feet down the hillside. Wedged between the crevices of outcroppings of rocks, a single finger with purple nail polish pointed toward the sky. Renee's scream drew the attention of a couple of joggers running past. "You okay?" one of the joggers asked Renee as she backed away from the railing. "She doesn't look too good, Stan," the second jogger said. "How about you have a sit on the bench and try to collect yourself, miss?" "There's something down there," Renee cried. "Over the railing." "Oh yeah? Down where?" the second jogger asked. Renee pointed toward the scenic overlook and yelled, "The hillside! Over the railing!" "Have a look down the hill, won't you, Stan, while I make sure the girl's okay," the second jogger said. Trying hard not to get the blood on her purse, Renee slid it off of her shoulder and, with a clean pinky, scooped out several moistened wipes, courtesy of her mother. She tore open the small packets and with great vigor removed most of the blood and hair from her hands and pants. "That's a lot of blood," the second jogger said. "I'm a doctor if you've been hurt." "I'm not the one that's hurt," Renee snapped. "They're down there." "Hey, Steven, you need to take a look. I'm calling this one in," Stan said. "Oh yeah? I'll be right over." Out of wipes, but still feeling dirty, Renee took the phone out of her purse and dialed the last person she wanted to call, but the one person she knew who could pick her up and take her home. "Holy crap, is that really you, Renee?" a male voice laughed through the phone's tiny speaker. "I thought you hated my guts." Hearing his voice caused Renee to tense up. "Don't start with me, Mike. I'm not in the mood." "Didn't you just call me?" "Can you come and get me? I need a ride home." "A ride? What's wrong with the bus?" Mike laughed. "Did you run out of quarters?" "Would you just listen for once? I'm at Indian Mounds Park. Meet me at the first overlook." "You okay? 'Cause you don't sound okay," asked Mike. "No, I'm not okay. Just hurry up." When Mike walked up the path leading to the overlook, Renee was standing cross-armed with her button-down shirt wrapped around her waist in an attempt to hide the dark stains on her capris. He started to greet her with his usual smart-ass grin, but was turned back by a scornful look. As Mike drew closer, the unexpected scene of fire and rescue along with police and television crew came into view. "What's all this?" asked Mike. Renee couldn't answer. Instead, she burst into tears, allowing Mike to embrace her. "You can take her home now. We've got everything we need," a police officer told Mike. Confused, Mike nodded obligatorily and guided Renee away. "Not even a hello?" Mike smiled as Renee slid into the car. "What's up with the bare shoulder look? You're just begging to get sunburnt." "Just drive me home so I can get cleaned up." "So, Gretel, are you going to tell me what all that was about?" Renee turned to her right and looked out the passenger side window. "Don't call me Gretel. It reminds me too much of when we were going out." "Sorry, that's what everyone still calls you." "I don't know everyone anymore. The people I know call me Renee, and so can you." "All right," Mike said. "No more Gretel. From now on, it'll just be Renee." "After you drop me off at home, it won't matter. This is the last favor I'm going to ask of you, Mike. I knew it was a big mistake when I saw you standing there, but I didn't know who else to call." Mike's heart sank. The hope that this funny and smart girl sitting in the car next to him was going to be a part of his life again faded away with a slow and painful sting. The breakup and everything leading up to it had been his fault, 100%. He had become too difficult to live with after his accident. The painful physical therapy had put both Mike and Renee through hours of tedious exercise just so he could learn to walk on his own again. The heavy drinking had come next, and then Renee finding Mike with one of their best friends in the bed sealed the deal. Renee hadn't looked back since. "Okay, I understand. I wouldn't want to be with me either," Mike said. "Please don't start with that pity party shit," Renee huffed. "At least tell me what was going on back there. I don't want to discuss it." "Come on," Mike smiled, putting a hand on Renee's leg and shaking it. "How bad could it be?" Renee sat up straight and growled, "Don't touch me again! You're not allowed anymore!" "Sorry, I just—" "You had your chance to be sorry. Just take me home. Please just take me home." As Mike drove up to Renee's house, she hopped out without saying a word. Driving away, all he could think about was memories of when they were together, memories of when they were inseparable. He dug his cell phone out from the front pocket of his jeans and called his best friend, Doug. "Hansel, turn on the TV. You won't believe this shit," Doug yelled excitingly through the phone. "I can't. I'm driving." "Man, you're gonna miss it. They're reporting on some grisly murder and they just got done interviewing Gretel." "You're kidding me. I just dropped her off." "You two together again?" asked Doug. "No, not a chance of that." "Too bad. You guys make a nice couple," Doug said. "Hurry and get your ass to my place. I have a big favor to ask." Mike walked in the dark down the path toward the scenic lookout where he had picked up Renee earlier that day. The pleasant warmth of the spring weather had given way yet again to the bitter cold that was a Minnesota trademark, causing his artificial knee to ache. Standing at the railing that was now wrapped in crime scene tape was Mike's best friend Doug and Doug's brother Donald. "Did you bring the lens?" asked Doug. Mike lifted up his camera bag. "Yeah, took a couple of hours to find it though. Renee had put all of my stuff up in the attic after the accident." "That was like 2 years ago. You haven't worked since?" asked Doug. Mike shook his head. "No one would hire me until now. I'm getting paid for this, right?" "I'll be turning in an invoice tonight," Donald said. "The department doesn't pay much for freelance, but at least it'll be a few extra bucks in your pocket." Doug laughed. "Imagine Mike Hansel working for the St. Paul police. The very same that threw you in jail, busted up leg and all." "Don't remind me. That's a memory I'd rather forget." "I understand you saw Gretel today," Donald said. "Caught her on the evening news. Still looks beautiful." Mike looked down at the ground. "I'd rather forget that too. Now what did you bring me out here for?" "The human remains found here this afternoon wasn't the result of a homicide. Unofficially, of course," Donald said. "Our detectives believe it was from a wild animal attack, most likely a bear." "Kind of vicious for a black bear," Mike said. "There was hardly anything left of the body." "What about a mountain lion?" asked Doug. "Not in this part of the state," Donald said. What we need from you, Hansel, are pictures of the hillside and surrounding area. The victim is thought to have been killed within the past 24 hours, so whatever tore her apart might come back for seconds." "Nice." Mike laughed nervously. "You do have a gun with you?" "Oh, you betcha. Never leave home without it." Mike set his camera bag onto the ground, and with the gentle care of a father with a newborn baby, removed the camera and night vision lens. He walked over to the railing and started taking random shots of the hillside, park, and of Doug and Donald. "Is there a way to shut these off?" asked Mike, referring to a pair of lamps situated along the railing. "The glare from your bald head is ruining all my shots." Donald half laughed. "Very funny." "Go ahead and throw your thick locks of hair in our face," Doug said. Mike ran his fingers through his dark brown hair and smiled. "I can't help it if I'm follically enhanced." "Just take the damn pictures, smart guy, so we can go home," Donald said. Mike aimed his camera down the hillside and panned right as he shot 12 frames per second. "You know it's going to take forever to sort through all of these pictures I'm taking. I'll be lucky to capture anything at all." After 3 more passes, Mike turned and started photographing the park and trees. As he aimed toward the playground, the movement of a row of swings caught his eye. He looked up at the treetops to see if they were moving too, and then licked his index finger and placed it above his head. "What are you doing now, Hansel?" asked Doug. "Checking for wind, but there doesn't seem to be any." "Why would you be taking pictures of the wind?" asked Donald. "Wow, you really are a police officer," Mike laughed. "I was just curious how windy it was because those swings are really moving." Donald looked over at the playground just as something large and dark moved between some trees. He swallowed visibly, barely able to spit out his next words. "Did you see that?" "See what?" asked Doug. "Hansel, take some pictures of the group of trees by the playground," Donald said. Mike did as requested, shooting a couple dozen shots. When he finished, he scrolled through to the end of the pictures, asking Donald what he was looking for. Before Donald could say anything, Mike answered his own question. Displayed on the screen of the camera, several figures stood motionless, statues within the grainy, green world the night vision lens had created. Their eyes ablaze, the figures seemed to be staring directly into Mike's soul. I don't know what I'm looking at here, fellas, but they're definitely not bears," Mike stammered. "They? Who's they?" asked Doug. Donald took a step back and drew his gun. "There's more than one?" "It's been really fun, Doug. Thanks for inviting me," Mike laughed uneasily. "Oh, and I'll send you my bill, Donald." "We leave as a group," Donald said. "Bears seem to be more afraid of groups than individuals." Mike pointed toward the playground. "That's great, Donald, but those aren't bears." "Don't make any sudden movements," Donald whispered loudly. "They're not a bunch of T-Rex either." Doug walked behind Mike, trying to catch a glimpse of the picture on the camera. "What are you two babbling on about? You're starting to give me the creeps." A high-pitched scream followed by a chorus of soft cooing made the blood in all 3 men run cold. Twigs snapping and brush rustling seemed to surround them. Doug drew in close to his brother, wishing he had a gun of his own. "On 3 we make a run for it," Donald said. "I can't run anymore," Mike said. "The best I can do is hobble my ass out of here." Doug pulled on his brother's shirt and started in the direction of the park's entrance. "Well, nice knowing you, Hansel. I'm not sticking around to see what those things are." "Get back here, Doug. You guys start walking, and I'll keep an eye out in the rear," Donald said, while panning his revolver left to right. The 3 men moved quickly on adrenaline-fueled legs. With each step, Mike grimaced as jolts of sharp pain radiated outward from his knee. Donald counting to 3 and then saying check reminded Mike of being in an old World War II B movie. Close to the entrance, they started to relax, having seemingly left whatever those things were far behind in the park. As Donald lowered his gun, a dark figure rose up, emanating a low growl. A chorus of chirps and cooing engulfed the 3 men in a demonic echo chamber. Donald screamed and fired off a single shot.
You're listening to Big World Network.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.